men mostly, you'd be hard pressed to find black men that can name 5 issues that men themselves, policy wise, are looking for. We're not trained to think of ourselves as a separate demographic.
A lot of the complaints that ladies are talking about, where's all the men and where's masculinity? A lot of this is related to the topic we're talking about in terms of the overall feminization of culture and how it's really changed us so much and damaged so much. And now we're having to reevaluate how it's formed our lives, how we've been raised in it, surrounded by it. This is the equivalent of a fish that's been born in water and not realizing what it means to be wet. That this is all around us between the educational system, the psychology field, et cetera, et cetera. So real quick, along with what you mentioned with Me Too, for those that haven't, I highly recommend looking at this brother's political agenda from 2024 with other contributors. He has a list of a whole bunch of, I think, what was it? I'm trying to remember. It was 18 different unique policy measures. And one of them that you had mentioned for sure was a false accusation offender registry.
Right.
Please tell me your thoughts about that, because I had never thought about that before. I know we all had said like it's not right, it's not fair for people to do false allegations, but I never thought about the idea of a false accusation offender registry. Please tell me more about what you're thinking with that.
Well, for anybody that has a question, my channel, the Onyx, where we have my show, the Onyx Report, we had, this is probably in 2020, I decided to create a blackmail political agenda. And these were basically policy ideas that come from black males themselves or anybody who's interested in seeing the quality of life improve for black men and boys, any policy idea. And it ended up turning into what it is now, a 19-point agenda.
Yeah.
And it is available on my blog. It's freely accessible. I've had everyday people, I've had politicians, I've had governors, I've had presidents of universities reach out to me and ask me questions or tell me that they're implementing different aspects of it. So it's definitely been around, but it's been since 2025 we've been building it. And most, I'd say 99% of the things on there are basically submissions by people. Now, one of those ideas, as you say, is I think that's point 18 on the list. Because right after that, we came up with GI Bill reparations for black men who didn't get the GI Bill and their families were thus impacted. But the false accusation offender registry was basically a way of holding, mostly women who had accused men falsely and didn't suffer any kind of repercussion for doing so, holding them accountable, having an accessible list where anybody anywhere from corporations to a mom and pop shop to universities to a school, anybody can just basically go to the registry and look up people who've made false accusations. And this is again post Me Too, so we're arguing that there's a need for it, right? Because if you're falsely accused, especially if you had to do jail time, you'll find your name on a registry, but the person who falsely accused you has no repercussions. And in many instances, they don't even, whether it's an article or online, their name doesn't even have to be listed, let alone their face. So you have these kinds of accusations that have taken place. I know there have been plenty, but the last one that came to mind is just what Michael Graham is talking about, the Chris Brown kind of incident. I thought about that, where he was accused, and when he showed evidence of her texts to him, she disappeared. Her lawyers dropped her and disappeared. She disappeared, but her name didn't even have to come out. Her face didn't even have to come out. And had he not saved those, texts, you know what I mean? And that's a celebrity. So what happens to the everyday guy that may not have the kind of clout that he had? What happens when you're caught up in an accusation? You didn't do it, but it's your word against hers. And in this post Me Too environment, the kind of momentum is rooted in this Victorian notion of femininity, which is that women are innocent and delicate, and it's these big bad nasty men that are always causing these problems. That kind of dynamic creates a one-way, in many respects, a one-way kind of punitive environment for men. So that's where we came up with the false accusation offender registry. But we got 18 other areas, and each area there has subpoints. Now, the very first one that black men chose themselves was family court reform.
Family court reform. Yep.
And that has the most subpoints. It has 18 subpoints. I think the only one that has anywhere near that is the criminal law reform, point 6, and that has 13 subpoints. So you can see, as far as on the ground, what Black men are grappling with. Family court reform is one of the biggest issues that they have. So those 18 subpoints speak more directly to what it is they're looking for. But those are the kind of things I wanted to list down and have in a static space where anybody can look them up. And I'll be real quick with this. One of the reasons I wanted to do that was because I noticed every presidential election, period, they would eventually ask Black men, at least once. They'd ask Black men what we want. And they'd go to a barber shop and set up this fake narrative where, the politician question was going to ask a few Black men around the barber shop what they want. Black men mostly, you'd be hard pressed to find Black men that could name 5 issues that men themselves, policy wise, are looking for. Because we're not trained to think of ourselves as a separate demographic. Now, Black women are a whole different matter. They have been training, at least since the 1980s, to think about themselves as a political demographic, as a social demographic that can stand on its own. Not necessarily the case for Black men. Black men talk about things that would benefit the community. But if you ask them what's specific to Black males, you might get some silence. So one of the reasons we created the list is so that Black men could have something to refer to. And I found that men have been blown out of their chairs about how much of their lives they can see in the list and how many things could have been dramatically different had these policies been implemented on any level. So yeah, if you're interested, look up the Black Male Political Agenda, Dr. Tia Son Johnson. It should come up for you pretty easily. It's on my blog, newblackmasculinities.wordpress.com. It's the pinned blog at the top, and you can actually go through it yourself.
I appreciate that, and the more that you explain it, the more I'm realizing, and I highly recommend. You don't have to be Black to read it. Number one,
no.
I think it's important for even non-Black men of all shades, to start to form a political identity around understanding why things aren't equal, things aren't fair. And that the reason why you've never thought about some of these things is because you've grown up in a feminized, matriarchal, gynocentric culture where the idea of men having such high rates of self-deletions, that's horrible, and the loneliness epidemic, that's bad. But just realize that if it was in the reverse, that policies and things will be put in place to address that issue. And there's a reason why Mother's Day is treated the way that it is and Father's Day is treated the way that it is. Like, once you start seeing it, it's like your eyeballs open and you're like, oh my God, this is everywhere.